And it got to the point where it was just too much. It was too much. My parents were, they were just out of control. Everything was, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. How are you going to feed her this? How are you going to feed her that? She has a cough. What is going on, YouTube? Daddy Bauer here, and in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about issues with parenting. Now, not parenting in itself, but let me just chime in a little bit on what I'm going through right now. So as of a week ago, me and my wife are looking for a daycare / nanny / babysitter, someone to watch our kid. Now, why is that? My kid is 15 months old. I always forget about 14 and 15. I keep remembering a year has 12 months. She's 14 months old, and we never needed, up to this point, we never needed a daycare or anything like that. We've been blessed and cursed at the same time. My parents were open to taking care of my kids. Now, something that I always heard, for whatever reason, I like to listen a lot. When people talk, I actually do listen. And I listen to people, and I listen to videos, and I read articles and stuff like that, and I always keep it in my head. And I always remember reading that it's never good for a marriage to have someone live in your house. Now, my parents weren't necessarily living in my house, but they were staying the night a lot because they, drive far. Their home is about an hour away, so I understand why they don't want to drive to and from every day while me and my wife are at work. So they would stay the night every once in a while, probably more than they should have, to take care of my kid. And we were blessed. We were blessed because we didn't have to spend extra money. What better care for your kid than your own parents? Right? Makes sense. Yeah. Except when it turns into an overbearing grandparent issue. Now, if you go online, you type in grandparent, and you start with the O, first thing that comes up, overbearing. Grandparents, apparently, no pun intended, just do not trust they just can't trust you with your own kid. When you have a kid, there's nothing in this world that you defend and get defensive about as much as that kid. It is just, it's in your nature. It's your instincts, your animal instinct to protect your young. And, if someone's telling you you're not doing that right, that is one of the most offensive things that you could tell somebody. And essentially, in a very passive-aggressive way, that was what we were hearing from my parents for the 14 months of my child's life. And it got to a point where you could tell that there was just this tension. There was this elephant in the room where my wife would be like, hey, make sure that she takes a nap at 11. Now, why would my wife say that? Because my daughter takes a nap around that 11 o'clock to noon time. Every day. It's like clockwork. My daughter is like clockwork. She takes a nap during the early stages, like around brunch or noon. And then she takes a nap late in the afternoon, like around 3 or 4. Like clockwork. But if we say that to them, we're being insulting. How are you going to... I raised you. You're going to sit here and tell me how to raise somebody? I've had babies. It's not what we're saying. I get it, and we love you for taking care of our kid. We're just giving you a heads up that this is what she does. And people get offended. And it got to the point where it was just too much. It was too much. My parents were, they were just out of control. Everything was, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. How are you going to feed her this? How are you going to feed her that? She has a cough. It just became overbearing. And they did not care about privacy. They overstepped their boundaries. And it got to a point where there was just extreme tension, and I knew at that point that's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time that, stuff was going to hit the fan. And it eventually did. Let me tell you how it started. My daughter was sick. By sick, I mean she had a cough. She had a little fever. Now, she's teething, and when my daughter teethes, it's in spurts. And when she does it, she gets a little bit under the weather. She gets a lot of sinus, stuff, and slight little cough and a little fever. Nothing bad, Give her a little Motrin, she's fine. Not to my parents. To my parents, she needs antibiotics. She needs to be taken to the hospital. Like we are talking to her doctor, okay? We're not winging this, okay? We're talking to her doctor, and we're going with his recommendation. And it got to a point where, 3 weeks later, she developed a cough again. This time she was not teething. She was a little under the weather. She was a little sick. She had a lot of phlegm, dry, But the only problem is, as a baby, you don't know how to go, you don't know how to do that yet. So it just, it sounds like she's wheezing and stuff like that. We took her to the doctor. They listened to her lungs. She was fine. The congestion was just right here. He was like, it's going to pass, and let's give it 3 days. On the third day, if you wake up and she still has it, bring her back in, and then we'll give her antibiotics. Antibiotics is not something you take when you just have a slight cold. Okay, you wait a little bit because your body needs to build a little immunity, and then if it gets to a point where your body just can't fight it, then you take the antibiotics. You don't take an antibiotics for a head cold. As an adult, I'm talking about now as an adult. You do not take antibiotics for a cold, okay? Now, I get it, as a kid, things are a little bit more dangerous. You don't want it to turn into something else. It's a little scary. It's a little kid. It's a little person. I get it. I get the fear. But communicate. Let's have a conversation about this. Ask us what the plan was. Because we did tell you already, you just didn't listen. And the plan was that if she was still sick in 3 days, take her to the doctor again. And he was going to prescribe some antibiotics. Day 1 came by, she got better. Still had the phlegm, still had the congestion, a little fever, but less of everything. Day 2, even less. She hardly ever coughed. Her fever happened, a light fever once. And it could have easily have been the fact that she was sleeping on her head and it caused a little heat. She might have not even had a fever. Cough was almost gone. Day 3, my parents were scheduled to come over. We weren't very lucky on day 3 because day 3 she woke up and she was really sick. Congestion came back. It was as bad as it was the day we took her in. And she had a fever. And my parents lost her mind. They believe, and I will quote them, they believe that if they did not show up that day, then my daughter, heaven forbid, would have passed. What? And they lost their mind. Everything, all that tension that I was talking about before, it came out. And it came out ugly. It was ugly. We had a huge fight. My mom told my wife that she will never babysit her again. And that if we ever want to, it's funny because they backpedal, but if we ever want to have them come over and babysit, that we are going to do everything according to their rules. She's going to eat what they want to eat, and we're there just as just standby. You do not ever tell a parent that. Period. And as much as it hurt me, I was like, I can't have that. I can't have that. That's just, I love you. You're my parents. I can only think what my wife feels. I mean, that's her in-laws. That's already, the in-laws. It's just a negative stigma already just to begin with. Can I have that? I cannot, on my good mind, cannot permit anyone, to tell me that I have to raise my kid the way they want to. This is absurd. Absurd. So I went online, I started reading about overbearing grandparents, and oh my goodness gracious, apparently we're not the only ones. So I decided to make a video on it to see if you're going through this. And what did you do? I'll tell you what I'm doing. Me and my wife, we're kind of giving them the silent treatment. We are showing them that we do not need them at all. That it's going to be an inconvenience for us, financially and timely, but we're going to go the daycare route. And it's going to be a little rougher because I'm sure she's going to get sick a little bit more often. We're going to have to call in, from our jobs every once in a while because if she's sick, daycares won't take a sick child. And it's going to be a huge inconvenience. But at the same time, it's going to be a stress reliever because we're not going to have to deal with someone just passive aggressively every single day in our home telling us what to do and how to do it with our kid, and pretty much saying that we are not fit parents. My mother and my dad both think that I'm not fit to be a parent. Now, with that being said, my parents are the type of people that believe that nobody is fit to do anything. Okay? If you're the president of the United States, you suck. You could do a whole lot better. If you are a secretary at an office, you suck at your job. If you are a paper boy, you suck and you're delivering the wrong papers. Like, my parents are the biggest haters in the world. They sit back and just criticize. So I have a little, that's a little bit more different, but it seems like everyone's going through the same avenue. I have a good friend of mine who just had a kid, and his parents and his in-laws are the same way. Oh, do this, oh, do that, and they get involved and it gets very annoying. They get very critical, as if literally they never raised the kid. The only difference with that was the fact that they weren't in his house that much. They have a daycare, so the only babysitting that his parents and in-laws were doing were occasionally. Where mine was constantly, so it was like day in and day out we were getting all this just tension build up, and and I just wish it was different. And I'm at the point, I've been trying to play through my head, what am I going to do if my parents ever say, okay, listen, we're sorry, we'll do it your way. I don't think I could ever go back to having them babysit or having them just take care of my daughter every single day. Like, it's clear that it was too much. It was too much them. It was them in our house. It was them in between me and my wife. It was them with my kid. It was just too much, where we could not be a family. And I think, and I'm a true believer that a family is a family. You can't have anyone else. You can't have any other parties in your house. For a little bit, maybe, like let's say you have a best friend that gets fired or gets, divorced and he needs a place to crash for a month. That's one thing. But like full time, like, every single day for a year and stuff like that, it's too much stress to the family, to the core. And I just don't think I could go back to that. It's something that I've been playing through my head, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to feel about it when that time, or if that time ever comes up. But that's at least what I'm telling myself now. So talk to me. Let me know, what did you guys do if you had the same situation? What are you doing if you're going through it right now? Or if you foresee your parents doing this or your in-laws doing this once your kid comes, if you don't have a kid yet. Let me know, because I never thought that the most stress I would have as a kid or raising a kid would be my parents. I never thought that. And I am someone that hates stress that can be avoided. A kid waking up in the middle of the night, you can't avoid that, okay? So that's going to be stress that you just can't avoid. But your parents being dicks, you can avoid that. And I hate when there's stress in your life that you can avoid. It's just something that just really, I'm just not a fan of. So, guys, I'm going to end the vlog here. Let me know what you guys think. in the comments below. I am always checking comments, so I will, let's talk about this. Let me know if you want like a specific story or anything like that. But if you are going through the same issues, please, I wish you the best of luck. Like always, guys, have a wonderful week. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.